Good afternoon, guys. We're Team Experience X, and welcome to our Halves presentation. And for the team member, we have Peter, Weilin, Jingkun, Cherry, and I'm Sharon and Jingyuan. And our instructors are Ruth and Mike. So our goal is to design an interactive and informative portal that showcases the unique characteristics of ETC. And our design will prioritize the simplicity and clarity that caters to ETC guests. And we will also provide visitors with at least one hands-on experience encountered with entertainment technology to supplement our portal. And our goal is to design an immersive and engaging experience that inspires visitors to explore the entertainment technology that exhibited at ETC. So before we dive into our solution, we had some interviews with ETC faculties, and we want to explore their needs and suggestions about their experience of ETC Guide Tour. And from the interviews, we found out the guide assistance, surprise for the kids, a fun and engaging experience are really important during the ETC Guide Tour. Also, tailoring the tour to the potential client's individual interests is crucial too.
Since we gained a lot of feedback and information from the faculty interviews, so based on their experience on past guide tours, we finally narrowed down the demographic for our project, which are high school students, ETC current student, alumni, and potential clients. Because we found out these are the visitors ETC mostly got for the building guide tour. So we created personas for these 4 types of users and collected overall user needs, which are having a better understanding about ETC, viewing ETC past and current projects, and exploring technologies and platforms being used in ETC, and finally the ETC building visiting. So during our interview with Janice, we learned the current guide tour progress. So at first, they will have a paper tour guide for visitors, includes the schedule for different groups to visit, and the visitors will attend to RPIS to listen for the overview introduction of ETC, and they then will start the tour in the building, and after that, they will go to the demo room and project room to explore and experience hands-on activities with different technologies. Since we had experienced some guide tours for guests and different student groups during these weeks, by combining the information we got from the faculty interviews and different visitors, we got their feedback about their most interested place in ETC building is the demo room and the project room. So because people like to experience hands-on activities and really like to interact with different emerging technologies. So combine all the information and feedback we got, we found the best way to satisfy all the needs, which is to design a portal with touchscreen. So the portal will be the ETC guide system, providing the information to visitors, also help our guide tours more easily explain different places in ETC building. And as we just said, we noticed that the hands-on experience is very attractive and fun to explore for visitors. So besides the portal, we're also going to develop some interesting hands-on experience for visitors to interact. So it can become one part of our portal design and help us with playtests for demo room and project room visits in our portal. And we already got a Kinect experience, and we plan to build more fun VR experience in next half semester.
Right, thank you. So I'm gonna introduce the first solution, touchscreen portal. So I'm gonna play the demo video.
The portal is a touchscreen information kiosk of our department building. With the portal's touchscreen interface, it's easy to access the information the guests need about our department. Whether people are interested in ETC's history, hardware, or projects, the portal has the selected information they need. And with its interactive 3D model of our building, you can get a better understanding of many famous stops in the building. You can rotate the whole building or select a certain stop to see its more detailed information.
All right, let me introduce the first user need is to better understand ETC. Here is our portal UI design. On the left side of the screen is the information panel where a user can view the ETC past projects. On the right side of the screen, we can see there is a 3D ETC building model. The user could rotate the model to view the details. Now, we can take a look at the information panel on the left. Click the first button, Overview, in the upper left corner. User can learn about the ETC history, and in order to let people to have a first impression of ETC before starting the tour. Next, let's look at the 3D building model on the right. User could check available playtesting sessions, your location, demo room, current project rooms, and famous stops in the building, like quasi, like the bridge. The second user need is to check ETC past project and current project. So how do people view ETC past projects? Let's click the second option called Projects in the upper left corner to check the past projects. Here, we can see the ETC past project could be displayed on the left information panel. All the current projects rooms are highlighted on the right building model, which means people could check all the ETC projects on this page. Now, let's see the left side of the portal. We can see the screen shows a gallery of past projects. After talking with our faculty and current students, we classify ETC projects into 5 different categories: entertainment, education, storytelling, discovery, and location-based. Now, I'm clicking the education category. We can see the education past projects are showed on the left information panel. At the same time, the current education project rooms are highlighted on the right side of the model. Now, you may be curious about what's changed if you click a different project category. I am clicking the entertainment category right now. The past entertainment project will be shown on the left. The current entertainment project rooms will be highlighted on the right side of the ETC building model. Please take a look at the model on the right, the highlighted project rooms. And then, let's go back to the education category now. If the user wants to visit a specific floor or specific current project room related to the education category, how does our portal help them? They could click the floor they are interested in. And then the floor will be zoomed in, and the details of the floor will be displayed. User could also click the project room to check the information of the current project in order to go to the current project rooms to talk with the students. Now, I am clicking another project room. We can see the information of this projects showed up.
The third user need is to check the technologies and platforms being used in ETC. If we click the hardware option in the upper left corner, on this page, users can check what kind of platforms students are using in ETC, such as Quest, HoloLens, Connect, and Vive Tracker. Now let's take Connect for example. After users click the Connect, they can see the detailed introduction about Connect on the left side of the screen. Also, the current project rooms using Connect are highlighted on the right model, just like the categorized project list we talked about before. Now let's pass to Jingyan.
Thank you, Jinkun. So as for 3D models, we created a symbolic 3D models for ETC with crystal and transparent texture instead of a realistic look. The reason is that this would be more simple and convenient for touchscreen interaction. And since those models are simple enough, they're also easy and, and convenient to be modified and maintained in the future. And as for the touchscreen interactions, I'll take Ben Franklin's kiosk as an example. Once users zoom in and click on it, the model will rise up and glow. And those detailed information will be shown on the screen next to it. And in addition to that Ben Franklin's kiosk, here are some other examples of symbolic models which represent ETC's famous spot. So we extracted the features of them and give them a uniform look. As for the prototype, we built our prototype by Unreal Engine 5. And some might say that this would be an overkill, but we have several reasons. One is that we are having a sci-fi visual style, and we need a game engine that could render high-quality 3D models. And one of the most important reasons is that our team members are more familiar with Unreal Engine 5. And as we mentioned before, we are having a hands-on experience at demo room. For the first one, we chose Kinect to develop. That is because Kinect is easy to maintain and also easy to build on. And also the interaction is pretty simple for Kinect, so that those naive guests at ETC, it would be convenient for them to interact with it. As you can see on the screen, those high school students are experiencing Kinect experience. And the experience itself is pretty simple, but they were really having fun with it. Now I'm going to pass to Wei.
So based on the prototype and the wireframe we built, we conducted several playtest sessions among various groups of people, including the tour guide staffs, the current students, and some pre-college students. So 12 out of the 12 playtesters love to interact with the 3D building. So this means that the interactive 3D building is an effective and engaging way of inviting people to explore in our portal. And 10 out of 12 playtesters understand the connection between the information panel on the left and the 3D model on the right. So this rate shows that a wide range of users can navigate and browse through the information in our portal. And last, 4 out of 12 playtesters would love to have a personalized route to visit the ETC building. This will be taken into consideration as we further develop our portal. Move on to the timeline. So we're committing to finish the portal development by week 11 so that we can test most of our features during the playtest day on April 1st. And in the meantime, we'll be developing another hands-on experience for people who visit the ETC building. And here are our metrics. So we'll be focusing on playtest, interactivity, and prototyping. So in conclusion, we are going to enhance the tour experience in ETC by building a portal and developing a hands-on experience. So thanks for your attention, and we're open to questions.
Thank you. How long do you think it's going to take before it needs to be updated?
Since the right panel, the building, it shows the current information, so it needs to be updated once per semester.
One per semester, thank you.
Who's updating it?
We're thinking of inviting Brian to update it, so we'll be testing with him. We are going to offer him documentation and to see if they can update it according to our plan and see his feedback so that we can continue to improve our own documentation of updating the portal.
During the current semester, how will you keep the playtest information updated, since that seems to change all the time?
So many of the fixed event in the upcoming event, so that can pre-filled like per semester, but you're correct about like the emergent playtesting session among the current project. So that's we should probably discuss on this topic within our group.
Where will it
in the second floor demo room or in the future UX lab project room.
Can you talk a little bit more about the relationship between the portal interface and the hands-on experiences? Like, what, are they a menu item in there, or are they always part of the tour, or how does that work?
So basically, when users interact with the portal, before we dive into our solution, we had some interviews with like all these potential clients and some of the students, and they're really interested in hands-on experience during going on in this building. So when they interact with the portal, they are looking for some hands-on experience. So that's why we want to like combine them together to test what kind of like experience our users looking for. That's what we are doing.
Just quickly, could you clarify a little bit how the portal integrates into the tour that are being conducted?
Okay, right here. So demo room is a natural stop in most of the tours. So when people are playing those hands-on experience in the demo room, so not all of them can participate in each of the activities, so that the rest of the tourist guests can interact with the portal.
All right,
thanks. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. We are Team Alpha Detective Agency, and we are making a murder mystery game. These are our teams. Tuesday and Ken are our narrative designer. Hui is our programmer and the artist and producer. James is our game designer and programmer. And Jerry is our game designer, programmer, and assistant producer. Our instructors are Chris and Jonathan.
So our project goal is to build a 6-player murder mystery game in about like 60 to 90 minutes in cyberpunk setting, and it combines the tabletop and digital elements. So to achieve our goals, we did some research on multiple types of games, and we wanted our game to include the best of both Western murder mystery games and also Jubinsha, a genre of murder mystery game from China, which has become extremely popular since the mid-2010s. And the best elements we think, like in Western murder mystery games, are the simple onboarding, and it can be played at home or at a party, and also like a feeling of moving throughout the space as well as face-to-face interactions. And for Jubinsha, we want to incorporate the complex background story, the predetermined murder, and also the seated together experience. And except for Western murder mysteries and Jubinsha, we also did some research on several tabletops, like Weapon Drawn, Clue Treachery at Tuner Manor, Sherlock Holmes, a consulting detective, Werewolf, and also Netrunner. So these helped us figure out which competitive and cooperative mechanics feel good in an investigation setting. And we want to incorporate the easy to learn and murder among players, as well as puzzle solving as our part of our game. And by combining all of these types of games together, we want to incorporate the following elements. So first, it's a conversational and clue-based deduction, as well as different background stories for players, and the predetermined murder, as well as simple onboarding. In other words, it's like a low amount of preparation before the game.
And as for the platform we're gonna use, because we want to have like a hybrid experience, so we're gonna have PC and phone for us for our platform. PC will serve as a hoster, which will play videos or show all kinds of shared information in a big screen. And as for the phone will be used for every player as their investigation tool for accusation or investigation. And as for the platform, we're gonna use, we use Unity Engine as our development tool, and our target build platform will be WebGL, and we are using photon networking for multiplayer settings.
Awesome. So our setting is set in cyberpunk future, which will influence our artwork. It'll be 2D artwork, concept art for our characters, clues, as well as a map, which will show on the large PC. So a background story for our game is that it's 2085 in Seattle, corporations reign supreme, and the CEO of one of these corporations is developing new technology that allow people to explore private memories. But on the cusp of the announcement of this new technology, the CEO's daughter is mysteriously murdered. This is the cast of our 6 player characters. Each character has a different profession and a special ability tied to the profession, as well as a connection to Ava and a possible motive for murder.
These are our UI inspirations. We want the player's phone to be an artifact of the cyberpunk world, so cyberpunk UI is extremely important. These are our current prototype UI in Figma. Character sheets have different tabs for backstory, special ability, relationship with a victim, and the alibi.
It then comes to our game structure part. So here is a high-level overview of our game. We will first introduce the world to the player with a video about the scenario, and then the player will be able to select characters in the character selection phase, and also they can read about their character sheets. And it then comes to our core game loop, which consists of several rounds of investigation and discussion phases. So in each investigation phase, the player will be able to investigate through Eva Kane's memory map and gather clues and puzzles. And in every discussion phase, they will solve puzzles together and discuss about the clues, as well as come out their own deduction theory. So after 6 rounds of core game loop, it then comes to the accusation phase. So the player will have to accuse one fellow player as the murderer and to see if they are correct or not. So to better explain the investigation phase, here is an abstract construction of our memory map. There will be 5 areas, with each area have several rooms, and the interest point will be scattered through the rooms. So players can able to spend a limited number of action points or APs to investigate the interest points, and the interest points can help them either unlock areas or provide them clues and puzzles. Here are some examples of our clues. So all of our clues can help the players to narrow down their suspect and also help them in the deduction process. Here are 2 examples of our puzzles. The puzzle on the left side is a puzzle that can be solved by any players. So you just need to come out with the answer and to check whether it's correct or not. And if you're not sure about the answer, you can discuss with other players during the discussion phase. And the puzzle on the right side is the puzzle that can only be solved by a player with a specific profession. So you need to share this puzzle with other players and you can solve it. So the reason why we want to do this is we want to force the communication between players. And now let's come to our demonstration part.
So as you can see, there's 3 screens above and 1 down there. The one down there is the host, which is the computer, and the 3 will be the phones. So the 3 players connect to the host, which is the computer, and then enter the game. So upon entering the game, you will be greeted by an intro video, which is on work in progress right now. And then each player will select their characters. And after that, you read about the background story of your characters, and then we'll enter the game, which is the first stage, which is the investigation phase. So during the investigation phase, you can still view your character backgrounds if you forgot. And then, so the main core gameplay of our investigation phase is to collect the interest points and also move around the areas. So each interest point will give you either a clue or a puzzle, which later on you will be using it during the discussion phase. So after every player has used up their action points, you will be transferred to the next phase, which is the discussion phase. So in this phase, all the players will work together and gather around with all the clues and puzzles they had from the last phase, and then try to solve them together. So in the middle screen, you can see the player is solve the clue, and he'll get like an according clue. Solve the puzzle and get a according clue from it. So after like 6 rounds of this core loop, you'll enter this accusation phase, which you will accuse a player. Yeah, so every round, you just go into loop again.
And here comes to our challenge parts. For the tech parts, because we are having using photon networking for multiplayer, it has some sync problem when it comes to like data types, because we want to have sync all characters values through the networking. There is limited data type to pass through the network when it comes to different players. And we also meet with some WebGL problems. The first one is the UI input fields works fine in the computer, but when it comes to the phone, it cannot. It's not working well. It cannot input text on it, and we also have some problem with the video playing and streamings. Because WebGL only support URL formats, video playing, which involves streaming problems, sometimes the video will get stuck or become really laggy when we play the videos.
As for scope, we have been having some like illness problem for the last few weeks. So the thing we did is we narrowed it down to the most core gameplays. We cut out some of the extra mechanics so to make the game like playable from start to end. And we also focus the story and the clues for the parts that's going to push the story forward. And then for playtesting, because the natural of game will need over 60 minutes and also over exactly 6 players to play. So it's going to be a lot of planning further ahead. And also because of our game being a murder mystery game, we need new players every time to not spoil the mystery. So what we're going to do is we're going to break the playtesting into smaller sections, so it's easier to plan and easier to find people who can commit to like a shorter amount of time.
So for our future plans, currently we want to finish our basic gameplay done by the end of week 8, so we can start playtesting since week 9. And we also want to participate in the playtest day in week 10. And our final game and iteration will be done by the end of week 12. And we will have soft opening since week 13. So thank you guys. We are Alpha Detective Agency, and we're working on the murder mystery game with networked multiplayer and also in cyber noir setting. Thank you. Any questions?
So just to be clear, you said that you need new testers every time because you get to the end and they've solved it. Do you plan to randomize or somehow switch around who can be the killer in future scenarios? Or is it going to be one set story from here on out?
We plan to do the replayability like before the quarter, but like we just get rid of the replayability part, so there will only be one murder in the game.
So we are more focusing on the narrative, so we want to make it like a more deeper story which will be very hard to do like multiple ones for replayability. Yeah.
The social aspect of these games is usually important. Can you talk about how you're going to get the guests to talk to each other and encourage social behavior and have fun socially?
So as we said, like some of the puzzles can only be solved by a specific player with a specific profession. So they have to share the puzzles with each other. And also like some of the puzzles may need several clues. So sometimes the clues in your hand are not good enough or enough to solve the puzzle. So you have to communicate with other players.
So in your game, it's possible for me to be the killer, right?
Excuse me?
So in the game, it's possible for me to be the killer?
For you?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
What's the most fun aspect about, like, if I get the killer? Why is that exciting?
Yeah, actually, we plan to add a sabotage action, so you can change the clues to whatever you want, and like it's somehow sabotage the investigation. But we didn't mention it here since there's no enough space, and also it will depend on our progress and scope part.
Welcome everybody to Rabbit Hole Productions Halves presentation. This is our team. Our faculty advisors are Chris Klug and Ricardo Washington. So what exactly are we creating? We are working on creating a pre-production package for an ARPG desktop game set in a steampunk world, where after accidentally unsealing an evil deity of catastrophe while going through ancient ruins, a rookie archaeologist now needs to free and collaborate with other deities to be able to gain the strength to reseal away this evil deity and save the world from destruction. The demographic is people in their 20s to 30s who enjoy ARPGs or the steampunk aesthetic in games in general. So these are our metrics matrix. We're focusing strongly on the storytelling and gameplay. So at quarters, we got a lot of interesting feedback, and one of the things that stood out to us was the question, what purpose do the deities serve in the world? At the time, since it is a steampunk world, a world of science and innovation, the idea of mythology and religion didn't really mix. So after quarters, we went back and we set our lore to make it important that these deities existed. The deities are the reasons why people were able to get the revelations to create the steampunk world and the mechanical wonders in general. It also gives our character an interesting way of having combat by being able to use powers given to them by the deity. The next thing is make sure that steampunk matters. At quarters, the steampunk seemed more like it was an aesthetic rather than part of the plot, as the plot focuses mainly on your interactions with the deities. So we actually went back and worked on our backstories, particularly for our main antagonist, and now the steampunk world is essential to the motivation to our antagonist. It also helps us explain the tools and the weapons found on the player. The next comment that we got was that our high-level verbs of what we intended for you to be able to do in the game didn't actually match with the low-level verbs that we're using for what the character could actually do. So we stripped both of those away and took them back to the very core verbs that were what we wanted for this game, such as being able to combat monsters and things like that, as well as interact with objects and people. The last piece of questions that we got at quarters was, will you have a demo? At the time of quarters, we said, I don't know, but probably not. Since then, we have changed our plan, and we do intend to have a short video demo that describes the mechanics of our combat, namely using the divine powers and the summoning of the deity in particular. I will now pass it off to Shirley to start talking about the game overview, in particular, design and character.
Thank you, Caitlin. So our project design process involves several steps to ensure that we conducted practical solutions. First, we start with brainstorming and researching similar topics as inspirations, and then begin to write initial descriptions about the character story and the world setting, and create concept sketches based on the stories we made. And next, we discuss and critique our work to narrow down our ideas. This collaborative, and iterative approach allows us to leverage our team's diverse perspective to create innovative solutions that address the challenges we face. So, to create the protagonist of a world, we began with exploring the character's background story and personalities. Then, based on the story for the protagonist, we create concept sketches on the right side, and we go with the middle one to match the character's occupation. As a student in archaeology, Cyrus Wakeman, which is the protagonist, required a character that embodied traits such as tidiness and cleverness. And in addition, the second character's scholar appearance conveyed a sense of capability that aligned with his identity as a trained adventurer and self-taught thinker. And after selecting the concept sketch, we also got feedback from our instructor in the beginning that we shouldn't settle down on one pose immediately. So we conducted several pose studies, and we settled down on a pose which is more visually appealing, that showcases his abilities with the deities and weapons. From there, we move on to color studies and clothing design, seen on the right side of the page, which allows us to refine and enhance the characters. By incorporating the results of our pose and color studies, we are able to bring the characters alive. Our VFX design features the protagonist's abilities to use the water deities in the form of waves and angelfish. This slide shows how the visual experience of the players will see in our game. Through the use of fluid and dynamic effects, we aim to create a visually immersive and compelling experience that allows the players to see the protagonist's mastery of their powers.
So where are you going? This is a map of our world. This is including the floating islands where the current society lives, including the user player, and there is the surface where the Asian society used to live. And so as a player, you are sent to the ground or the surface by your mentor's help to discover the downfall of the Asian society, which you are also going to discover the elemental tower, the temples of those good deities that may help you. So what are you doing? Since you accidentally release the evil deity at the beginning of the story, you are going to reseal it. In order to do that, you will need to gain the power of those good elemental deities. And this video is a demo of our water temple. And how do you solve the problems? You solve the problems by the combat and puzzle solving. The combat including fight with mobs and boss monsters using your multiform weapons and the power you get from those deities, which means the skills, including the ultimate skill that can summon the deity with you. And how do you solve the puzzles? There will be environmental puzzles. You need to solve them to access the doors, scan the treasures, and uncover the Asians' history. And what can you do? For combat and puzzle solving, so our player will be able to craft modify the tools, including the grappling hooks shown in the videos, and you are also able to craft the new weapon forms. To do that, you will need to collect the items that dropped from the monsters and you gain from the treasures. And some of the items will also be used to offer to the deities for greater power, which means unlock your skill tree. And next, Nelson and Hagen will talk about the example run-through.
So each temple will follow a 5-room structure where they will begin with an encounter outside of the temple, where the player will defeat low-level mob villains as they progress into the temple itself. They will do this by using a weapon and sheath fighting style, following a Han Dao type of fighting, or using a gun and sword fighting style, where they'll mix between long-range and short-range attacks. The weapons that they're holding also can combine to fight in a different way than they would have with their main or offhand styles.
Then the player will face a series of rooms containing puzzles. By completing these puzzles, the player can unlock the door leading to the next room. And these puzzles will center around the same elemental theme as the temple they're in. So we're using water temple as an example here, so you can see the water elements in the puzzles mechanic. The player can also find an object, an item that can be used as an offering to the corresponding deity in one of these rooms. Here is an example of how water is used in our puzzle design. So after entering the room, the player can see a gap that is too far to jump across and the leaking water structure. And by rotating this wheel, the player can move this platform left and right. And by doing that, they can use the water stream to push this rock inside the leaking structure to stop the leak. Then the water will run through the structure and push the water wheel to a counterclockwise rotation. Then the player can just stand on this larger water wheel to arrive at a higher platform, which made them closer to this larger water tank. When they're close enough to this water tank, they can just use their grappling hook to remove the plug on the water tank to release a larger stream of water that falls down on the larger water wheel, which reverses the rotation to a clockwise rotation. And then with the clockwise rotation, this smaller water wheel will push the water inside the gap and fill it with water, so the player can just swim across the gap and enter the next room.
Once the player has completed the puzzles, the player will then enter the inner sanctum of the temple, where they'll be meeting the main shrine of the deity. After making the offering that they've collected during the puzzle portion of the temple, they will be able to talk to the deity that was entrapped inside. They will understand how the deity was entrapped and what they've been doing while unsealed. And once they're free, the deity will give them the base form of that deity's abilities, which is their base active, base passive, and an ultimate ability that they will be able to showcase in their next fight. After releasing the deity, the player will then fight the evil version of that deity, Catastrophe's version, that was sealed away. The fight will showcase the deity's abilities that they have granted them as a form of tutorial, where they'll showcase the small attacks that have been augmented by the deity, as well as after a meter has been charged, unleashing an ultimate attack that will sway the fight in the player's favor. Once the battle has concluded, the deity will offer more powerful support in exchange for more offerings at their temple. Danny will join me as we close out the presentation. So we think the game is fun and interesting, and we think you should too. We are inspired by the steampunk aesthetic in conjunction with deity overtones, which is not commonly seen in games. We also love the unique mechanics that we bring this to fruition with. The grappling hook allowing you to maneuver through different terrains, deities helping you in combat, as well as multiform weapons that allow you a unique approach to combat encounters. We also love the narrative and lore associated with how the islands came to be, and the through line of the plot that the player will follow.
And based on our matrix metrics, we divided our next step into following categories. First, since we have iterated a lot on game mechanics and design, in the past few weeks, we'll try to further develop our story and create more detailed plotline based on these decisions. And next, based on our basic storyboard, we'll start making the deity summoning demo. That includes some of the environment art and combat design. And we also talk with Mo about potential collaboration with the student in advanced pipeline to help us with the character animation. And for concept art, we'll be gathering feedback for the next few weeks and try to have a more refined character art and also start to modeling the weapon and items. And for our production side, we'll also start working on our pitch deck, in the following weeks and use the playtest day to test the validity of this proposal. And to summarize our production of this project, we have been working on iterative design and art for the past few weeks, and we create a basic storyboard for the example run-through. And for the upcoming weeks, we mentioned that we will be polishing our story and art, creating a summoning deep demo, and gathering feedback. And after solve, we will be preparing our finals, comparing our art and design to documents, and also working on the schedule and the commercial analysis for our game production phase. And that's all we have today. We're now open to questions.
Hey, do your characters' elemental powers have non-combat uses, for example, using them to navigate some of the environmental puzzles in later levels?
We have discussed it a little bit, but we have not decided whether or not that's a feature that we intend to add. It's still under discussion.
I'm kind of curious when you're talking about the puzzle design. Do you have a set of systems and mechanics that are helping constrain the possibility space? And if so, how would you describe that?
Yeah, so we discussed that because a lot of puzzles in temples will be elemental related, and we discussed that in the temples we cannot summon a deity and use the elemental skill because it's obviously in the temple of another deity, so the player can only use their base skills. And we also have defined a document of mechanics that can be used as part of the puzzle. For example, there are pushable object, holdable object, and we're simply using that to create all of our objects. So we are limiting all of the objects in the puzzles and mechanics to that set of list of mechanics. And by combining them with different elements, we can create like different kind of puzzles.
The scope of this is obviously quite large. How does that create challenges for you to do pre-production and the prioritization of that pre-production?
Well, one challenge that we're having with it is, since it is a very large scope, deciding on what to focus on first and making sure that we're all collaborating in a way that is actually conducive to the work. Currently, we have had to put, like, for example, story on the back burner for a little while and focus more on our mechanics. So even though I took on the role as the narrative, I've actually been doing a bit more of the gameplay design along with the others. So that's how we're kind of trying to deal with scope, is working on the core mechanics and then moving on to the further details. Since it is a pre-production package, we weren't worrying about too much about the scope of, like, theoretically making it, as it is just a theoretical game.
To comment a little bit further on that, from the artist side of that, you tend to have the problem of people working very, very fervently on one particular thing very individually, and then you have to make sure that we maintain communication between those of us working in the art side to make sure that it still follows one consistent style amongst the game itself.
How are you determining, I guess, success? Like, how are you deciding what you should deliver and how what you're delivering satisfies the needs of this project?
As of right now, what we're going to be doing to assure our success is working next on our pitch deck and making sure that we playtest that pitch deck, and not only do people understand what we're presenting to them as far as the game goes, but gauging their interest in whether or not this would be a game that they theoretically want to play or invest in.
then it means you have a bad